want to thank the ED for. Hello, can you hear me?
Clearly, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. I want to thank the ED and the organizers of this program for the opportunity to be here. Thank you so much. I am trying to share my screen. Sorry. I don't know what's happening.
So it looks as if you have not joined with your video, that you've only joined with your audio. So, because that is how it is showing here. Or are you using two devices, sir?
Yeah. I have a challenge with the video here.
Can you send your slides over to Dimeji so that he can project for you? And then you just give him instructions. Prof, can you send your slides to Dimeji and then he projects for you, if that's the way to go?
You are muted, sir. You can unmute and okay, sir, speaking to us.
Yeah, thank you. Can check your WhatsApp.
Oh, all right, great. Thank you, sir.
So you can then help to project. So while we're waiting for him to help with that, I want to say once again, good morning, everybody. It's a privilege to be here. Each time I'm asked to come and speak, I see it as an opportunity to also learn while we speak. So this morning, I've been asked to talk about writing the report section of your research. Have you seen it, Dimeji? Writing the report section.
Yes, I'm sharing the screen now.
Yeah, so for the presentation roadmap, we'll be talking along this line. Sorry, I will need to run a bit because of our time and because of some other events that have been lined up after this program. So we'll quickly look at the importance of the resource section. We'll look at what should be included in the resource section and what should not be in the resource section. The use of
is my screen visible, sir?
Yeah, it is.
Can you see my screen,
it is. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, yes, I can. Thank you very much. We'll look for the use of charts, figures, and other illustrations in the resource section. Look for examples. We'll just look at a few examples, and of course, we'll go directly into steps to write research sections. Then we'll take questions and answers. The next slide. The next slide. Okay. Introduction. Go back, please. Go back. Yeah. Why is the resource section of a thesis, of journal article, of report, research reports, or conference paper so crucial? It is crucial because it's, in my opinion, it signifies the culmination of months and years, as the case may be, of efforts that have gone into your thesis, into your writing of the article or the research report, particularly data gathering. So this is the culmination of all the activities, and you're about to, and of course, if you do it well, you would be praised. And whatever you do, if you don't do it well, no matter how well your data gathering has been, no matter how well your research review has been, the result section would mar, the exercise and makes it a futile one. It's also important and crucial because it states the core findings of the research without bias or any form of interpretation from the author. And it's also important, in my opinion, because here you can get the opportunity to arrange your report in a logical and sequential manner. Must also emphasize here that the best way to present our report or result is to be in line with the research questions. From time to time, we'll be talking about this. Research questions actually should be the driver of your result. What is the difference between result and discussion? I mean, a lot of people have been asking that question. Quickly, result section, we are present. Go back, please. Timo, you are too fast. Dimeji, go back. Result section present facts in unbiased manner, whereas in discussion, you're allowed to bring in your meaning explanation of the findings. In result section, there is no interpretation. You can interpret as far as discussion is concerned, especially in line with extant literature. And lastly, the result section sets the stage for the discussion, and of course, the discussion is formed by the result. The next slide, please. Okay, what should be included in the result sections? The result section is purely reporting, purely for reporting, and therefore it must be about your findings. And these findings can be presented in data, in data form, in form of tables, in form of charts, in form of figures. Another illustrations could be diagrammatically expressed, can be films, or whatever way you choose to illustrate. For quantitative write-up or research, it's mostly presented, guided by the variables the key variables that took you to the research. Whereas in qualitative research, usually the result section is guided mainly by the themes which emanate usually from your research objective or your research questions. Of course, it also includes some secondary findings, as long as secondary findings are within the purview of your research questions. Also, what you also include are the most relevant findings to the research objectives. As far as findings are concerned, there will be findings that are not too relevant. They are findings all the same, but they're not that relevant. So what we expect to see in the result sections are the most relevant, because if you put both relevant and irrelevant, then you tend to lose your reader because it becomes boring. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. So what to avoid? Some of the pitfalls, like we said earlier, avoid trying to explain or interpret the data at this stage. And of course, secondary findings that are outside the research questions, I think I mentioned that also. Do not discuss your findings also at this stage. Don't bring in external literature in trying to. At this point, it should be just what you have as you are showing in the data or the chart that you are presenting. You should also avoid ignoring negative reports. Negative reports, I mean reports that are unexpected, reports that are contrary to the literature or established scientific knowledge, or report that you are not expected to see, that you feel this thing will spoil my. No, you must not ignore negative report. But as long as the chart is showing it or the tables are showing it, then you have to repeat. Then avoid using repetitive sentence structure to explain a new set of data. A number of students fall into this pitfall in trying to have a bulky report. They say your thesis is just 100 pages. Somebody else's thesis is 200 pages, and by the time you pick up the one with 200 pages, it's full of repetitive sentence structures. The same thing that has been said is said in another way. And of course, I must quickly add here that in presenting your report, once you have illustrated your report in a particular chart, you don't use that same thing. For example, you have used a chart to present your report. You don't use a table to present that same report, or you have used a table. You don't use something else, to present that, because it's about the same thing. What you need to do is just to follow up with narrative that makes it clearer. So you also must avoid data that are not necessary, in order not to have overwhelming reports, such that your readers become overwhelmed by the gamut of results you are throwing at them. Yes, next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, avoid presenting raw data that you can summarize or present virtually. You are expected to have done analysis about sorting. So you have sorted out the result that are very crucial, germane to your research objectives, and in a very succinct manner, you present them using tables or charts, and don't throw the raw data back at your readers. I've seen a number of students who will and when trying to present their results, exactly what the questionnaire they took to the field is what they are going to throw back at the readers, particularly when they are representing Likert scale, or some of these other questionnaire that they have. They just throw back the questions at the readers, and they leave you to want to decipher. So no, don't present the raw data, but summarize them or present them virtually. That's why you have charts and graphs. Avoid the use of vague terminologies or generalizations. Specific, for example, somebody in social sciences or in political science who has gone to investigate political participation among migrants, and at the results section is still reporting, still discussing using the term political participation. At this point, we want you to break down, the indices, the indicators of these general terms, these generic terms that we have gone to the field to investigate. At this point, we want to see the indicators of political participation. For example, is it voting patterns to look at, or you have examined? Is it campaign involvement in campaign of among gender, for example, male and female involvement? So at that point, you don't use general terms or generic terms like political participation or juvenile delinquency. At that point, you want to know what aspects, so you use specific terms in your report, and not, of course, you also want to avoid anything that would make your work to be boring. Don't use text, for example, all through, you also use text to. So what you can describe in a picture, they said there's 1,000 words to every picture. So rather than bringing out the picture for us to look at, you want to describe the picture, then you make it very boring. You must be innovative. Innovative means it may not be in terms of pictures, it may be anything else that will present your work in a succinct way, such that when we look at the chart or the graph you have, then we'll be able to follow up with the narratives that help to present the data or the chart. The next slide, please. Next slide. How do we organize our findings? I think I said this earlier. Our findings should be organized according to the research questions. The research questions are the driver. I said that earlier. They, of course, translate into the research objectives, and they are the driver of any research. They are the ones that determine the methodology. They are the ones that determine what results are lighted and the ones that are ignored. So one way to do that is to restate your research question one after the other. And one, for example, your first research question, you state it, then go and look for the data that is relevant, or the graphs or the table that is relevant, to help understand that, and of course to talk about it. Illustrations that helps you. Then of course go to the next research question, do the same, go to the next research question and do the same. Another way is to group similar data together. For example, you have positive results. By positive result, we are talking about results that are in line with established scientific knowledge or the literature. Neutral, where maybe the participants are undecided, maybe particularly when you use Likert scale, and participants are they don't give definite answer, or they are undecided. Then, of course, I think I explained negative results earlier. So you can present the positive ones first, the neutral ones, and negative sequentially, or other way around. You can also arrange your data chronologically. You could start with data that, for example, if you are looking at data from maybe you have gotten data by years, you can start with data from the 80s, 90s, then 2000s, and so on. What are the benefits of organizing your data this way? Your narrative becomes very easy to follow. Somebody is reading, don't forget the research they have carried out. You have written an introduction that states what you want to do. You have written a methodology section that states how you want to collect your data. So all these are connected. So the results section is not divorced from your introduction and methodology. Therefore, we want to be able to follow from your introduction, your methodology, your result also. We should be able to, it shouldn't be disjointed. And also it will make it to flow. I call it this follow and flow. So we're able to flow, and of course, a research finding that flows becomes more interesting to read and less overwhelming and less boring. Yes, next slide, please. How do we use tables? Like I said, you don't just create tables or charts. You don't just create anything that catches your fancy, or maybe because your friend has used a particular chart or picture. Whatever you want to use must be with the mind of your research question. Your research question must be the one that determines whether you use the charts, whether there are some findings that are better presented in tables. There are some findings that are better presented in pie charts, all forms of charts. There are some findings that are better presented in graphs. There are some findings that are better presented in pictures. So your research question will determine what you use. What are the benefits of using these illustrations, that is tables, charts, and graphs in your presentation? First and foremost is that it saves time. The time that you have expended in writing tests, and other descriptions, you will save by just presenting a picture. For example, like I said, there is always 1,000 words to a single picture. So if you have a single picture, it means that you have summarized 1,000 words into that picture. So it saves time. It saves space. The space that tests would have occupied, your graphs will just summarize, and just for you to explain succinctly and concisely what you are showing on the graphs and the charts. It also helps us to understand the findings that you are presenting, and of course you do that in this very simple manner, very simple and concise manner. When you present your work, your findings in tables, it simplifies what you are doing. Everybody understands. We have an idea of what you are writing. You don't need to begin to use dictionary to understand what you are talking about. Then of course helps us to engage and sustain readers' interest. I think I mentioned this earlier. And last but not the least, it shows patterns and relationships. Merely looking at a table, you could see pattern. Particularly charts and graphs, you could see pattern. You could see the pattern that you want the reader to see, and of course it's more appreciated than trying to describe the pattern. Yes, I have some examples here. This is actually a study that just been concluded in terms of quality data collected at different facilities in Ondo and Ekiti State. So you can see, merely looking at this, it tells you what kind of routine meetings for management review meeting that takes place in the different places according to the respondents. The frequency of routine meetings, do they occur weekly? Do they occur after every 2 events, monthly, quarterly, and so on? So from here, you could see that monthly meetings carries the higher frequency, or the highest frequency in both Ondo. And so from looking at that table, you have an idea of what is coming from it. This is just an example. Please go to the next slide. This is also an example of a chart, that presents a finding in somewhat way that you can. This one is talking about number of employees versus the amount they receive in terms of thousands. So looking at this, you have an idea of this. These are just examples to illustrate how graphs or charts help us to simplify our findings, help us to understand better what we are trying to do rather than trying to put everything in text. Go to the next one. Yes, this is actually what we call ZY index table in qualitative studies. This one is talking about barriers to regular use of quality of care indicator results by QI. QI means quality innovation team or something. So this one is looking at barriers that are present in two locations, Abuja and Lagos. So this study has been carried out in Abuja and Lagos, and these are barriers to the use of, according to the respondents. So in this actually was like FGD or high DI, some FGD, some high DI is among respondents. So you could see where you have plus is, according to the legend here, the notes. Sign plus connotes particular barriers found in this particular state, while negative sign connotes otherwise. So that's what we mean by legend. I'll be talking about legend later. Legend is to explain. Every graph has a legend. Every table has a legend. Particularly when you are using signs like plus, like symbols that you need to explain. So this same diagram of this same table can be presented in a different format. Go to the next slide, please. Can be presented like this in qualitative data analysis, we call this Sankey diagram. You can see this also is presenting two different things, two different results from two states. Issues about data gathering, how the quality of data gathering, what are the factors that affect data gathering, quality gathering at PHCs from two states. So you can see what all you have here related to Ekiti State is here. All you have related to Ondo State is there, down there. So the thickness of each line talks about how well they are mentioned. Like the other one that was just giving us plus. This one tells you how well, each of these training of health workers is what is actually the what appears most mentioned in the Ekiti State. And so all this you can present your findings in graphical ways that would not just colorful but also help us to appreciate what you have done better. This same presentation can be done in another way. Go to the next slide, please. Can be done in another way. Look at this also. This one is talking about perception of clients on quality of care. Still the same study where data collected from Ekiti and Ondo State. So you can see here. Let me try to explain. Is it blue now? The green color talks about what the responses that are gotten from each of the states. Ekiti State, for example, all the blue color in Ekiti State. Sorry, the slide cannot contain all, whereas those for Ondo is down there. But the other color, the color in between, is that orange also. It's showing all the mentions that are common to both states. So you can see this is a very beautiful way of presenting our findings rather than trying to explain, rather than trying to use text. But once we see this can then be followed by explanations or by tests to tell us what this is about. Then it becomes better appreciated, because we can see what we see, we appreciate, and that is the beauty of using graphs, tables, and charts. Go to the next slide, please. Go to the next slide. So how do we therefore reference our tables and charts? We have seen some people in their report, they are fond of using expressions like figure below, table below, chart below, chart above. One disadvantage of that is that maybe by the time you are editing or you are trying to rewrite your work or formatting your work, what you have referred to as below may now become above, or what you have referred to as above may not become below. So the best way is to ensure that you reference them so well, and one way to reference your charts and figures well is to mention them by their number, and this number must be sequential, must be logical. If, for example, the first table you have is on social demographics, label it table 1 social demographics. The next table, of course, is supposed to come, don't forget, by the next research question, followed sequentially by other themes, thematically, until you get to the next research question, and they are labeled 1, table 2, table. So by the time you are making references, you refer to them table 1, table 2, table 3, or figure 1, figure 2, or slide 1, or film 1, or whatever illustration you have used. So don't also forget to put legend, like I showed you earlier. Legends help to explain the content of the chart, the tables, particularly when you have used symbols that are not commonly used. Also, don't forget to write the sources of your table and figures. Somebody will say, yeah, but it's my work now. Do I need to cite it? Yes, cite it, because from that time onward, you become an authority. Somebody else might fancy, may be interested in what you have, the table or the chart you have presented, and want to use it another. So the person would reference it and say, well, this is actually taken from Ogoye 2024, and of course in the reference section you say unpublished PhD thesis, so you are beginning to become an authority. So if it is from your own research, put it there, as your own research, and of course and of course if it is from an external maybe from a secondary document, for example, maybe you have analyzed secondary sources, also put it there so that we'll be able to know the sources of tables and figures. Yes, the next slide, please. Next slide. Steps to writing the resource section. We'll just go first through some very quick steps so that we can take feedback. One is to get familiar with the guidelines. In case you are writing a thesis, there is a guideline as enunciated by your department or the PG college. Get familiar with the handbook. There's no no uniform way of writing resource section. It varies journal by journal, department by institution by institution. So take note also of the limitations and restrictions, the do's and don'ts of the journals if it's a journal article. If it is a conference, of course, the conference organizers, the editorial team would have issued out what to follow as the do's and don'ts. Of course, if it's about journal, it will be very important and instructive to lay your hands on previous editions of the journals. In most cases, if you are going to write in a journal, you go to what they call the section they call on the website instruction to authors. And if you don't have maybe their website, you could write to the editors to send you editions of past editions of the journals, and of course they will gladly do that. So that helps you to get familiar with the guideline of either the department if it's a thesis you are writing, or the journals if it's a journal you are writing to. Then of course step 2 is to outline your resource section. Like I said, let it be organized chronologically, sequentially, and it could be hierarchical in terms of order of importance. Just make sure you follow a particular order. Follow the order. That don't forget your presentation has been you have introduced us to this work right from the introduction, the methodology section. So let that also let there be a connect. More so the resource section is coming after. Some other things must have come up that would have distracted the author from your introduction and your methodology. So the person might have lost track of the logic that you're trying to present. So you can restate that here and then let it be in the order that you are presented right from the introduction to your. For example, what I mean by order is that you have various research questions. So this order in which you have put the research questions, for example, in your chapter 1, where you have talked about the objectives of the study. So let your result also be outlined according to the way you have structured and ordered the objective of the study in your chapter 1. So let it follow the order presented in your introduction, and of course, the order presented in your method. Next slide, please. Step 3, design your charts. Step 3, we're on step 3. Design your charts. Number the table, the charting. I talk about that, so that you don't have a figure 1 and then the next one is figure 3. When you look for figure 2 under figure 3, then present your data in a very easy to interpret manner. It shouldn't be ambiguous. Your data, either you are presenting in graphs or tables, should be, without even you talking about it, somebody should be able to look at and make meaning out of it. Tables, charts, and figures should be used to enhance narratives. Narratives should, in some cases, they will tell you that narrative should come before the chart. In some cases, they will tell you that narrative should come after the chart. So that's part of the reasons why you have to familiarize yourself with the handbook or the instruction to authors by the journal preference. They should also guide the readers through the text. The narratives should not be different from what you have in the text.
Is it my network or sir?
After your research section, that's the fourth line. Hello, am I still on? Hello.
Oh, okay. The audio was scrambled for a minute, but then we can hear you now.
Okay, where did it start from? I can start from there. Step 3. Hello, Dimeji.
Yes,
where did it start scrambling? Where? From
on
where?
This page, step 3, sir.
Okay, let me start from step 3 again. So step 3, I said design your charts. Like I said earlier, number your tables in the order of presentation. You have said table 1, social demographic characteristics. table 2, like I said, accordingly, thematically, according to your objectives. Don't forget your objectives were presented to us in chapter 1. So the way you have presented it, also let the chart or the illustrations follow in accordance in order of presentation. Then I said it should be easy to interpret. Men looking at the table, we should be able to say, oh, 25% are men. You have more men, or so it shouldn't be difficult, it shouldn't be ambiguous when we look at your tables or chart or illustrations. Then also, your narratives should enhance your charts. It shouldn't be contradictory. What if, for example, if you have a particular percentage in your table, it should be what you should have in your narrative. Don't give something that will be confusing. Then I said, in some cases, some people would ask you to narrative should come before the chart or table. In some other cases, say the other way around. And that's why I said it's very important for you to, if it's your thesis, get familiar with your handbook of the postgraduate college. If it's journal, get familiar with the instruction to authors. And of course, your narrative should guide the readers through the test. 4 now. Restate your research questions and write them thematically. Like I said earlier, the reader might have lost consciousness of the way they are presented in your first chapter. So in this case, you want to restate it and then write thematically. Don't forget, this thematical write-up is very important, particularly for qualitative. Perhaps because I'm in sociology and I have a knack for qualitative research. Of course, I'm also involved in quantitative. Well, I'm talking more about qualitative now. Because you must write thematically the themes that I imagine, from your study, particularly as related to your research questions. Summarize key findings at the end of the results section. Of course, by the time you are done with your research, summarize key findings, in preparation for the discussion sessions. So the importance of summarizing your key findings at that point is that we don't lose track, of some of the things that you have presented. And of course, also helps you you can use your summary to be the basis of your discussion, like I mentioned earlier when I was trying to differentiate between discussion and then results. Convey complex data in a clear and precise manner. There will be complex data in your chart or in your presentation, but make sure that they are all broken down in such a way that whoever is reading it understands. Don't make things complicated. It's better to write simply than to write in such a way that nobody understands what you are writing. Don't forget, most of the time you are not there when they are doing your work. Ask yourself, after you have drafted your results, that could this be presented in a more concise way? Is there maybe there are some convoluted sentences you have written? Is there better ways? Can you use some, to summarize this and then make sure that somebody that reads it, long-winding sentences usually become boring when you are trying to read your results section. The next slide, please. Next slide. Yes, edit and revise your results. Most people usually wait till some days to submission before, and that's why touch action would not run foul of omissions and errors. You must be ready, days before. You don't wait until some days before submission before you begin to do rush. Ask yourself, does this report represent my results? What I've written, does it represent anything that I'm missing out? Then also double check for accuracy of all the data. Are they accurate? Hope you have not given Obasan to Oshun. You have not misplaced data. Make sure that everything tallies. Reflect on your introduction and methodology. Ensure consistency. Like I said earlier, there must be consistency in what you have in your introduction. When I say introduction, I mean your chapter 1. That's for thesis. What you have for your journal article, the introductory aspect, where we have stated that the objective of this study will be blah 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 blah. And the methodology, of course, will follow from the objective. So the result also must follow from these two. Ask, are the results in line with the introduction and methodology? If not, please check and make sure there is flow. Check that there is flow. Or what we mean by flow is that the flow must come. Objective 1 must flow to objective 2 to 3 and so on and so forth. Then I want to emphasize on this, please. Peer review. Gone are the days that you're working on your computer and your neighbor comes in and you quickly cover your computer. There's no more under the table. If you do under the table in this age, you are killing yourself. Peer review. Allow others. Others could be your supervisor. Others could be your friends, could be your classmates to read and give you feedback. And talking about feedback, you must get to enjoy feedback on your writing. Many people don't enjoy, they don't like it. When you give your work to your supervisor and it's full of red barrel, you say, oh, what you As a matter of fact, I like it when my work is full of red barrel, because it means that by the time you translate that red barrel, your work will not be the same again. Because it means that somebody else has breathed into your work. To enjoy it. I call it the hallmark of scholarship, the pillar of scholarship. This is not limited to only students. A colleague of mine recently were arguing, and I had to correct her to say, look, enjoy feedback on your students' work. So are you trying to supervise the supervisor? Of course, we're not supervising the supervisor, but we are engaging in what we call peer review mechanism. So it's the pillar, the hallmark of scholarship, that you enjoy feedback on your work. Take your pen and write when they are making comment on your work. And of course, very important that we engage a professional editor. In Nigeria, we are not anyway, there's this controversy that since we are colonized by the British, we are native speakers, but that's not our mother tongue. Many of us are Ijesha. Even in our English, you smell some aroma of Ijesha, of Akwa Ibom in what we see. So what I'm saying therefore is that get a professional editor to make sure that, particularly when you are sending to very reputable journals, get international press. An guy of mine some years ago, on a lighter note, shared something with me. This was somebody we respected so much. He's schooled in the US, and the editorial comment he got was that, can you please engage a professional editor? It's apparent that the writer of this piece is not a native speaker of English. And he said, look at this video here, people. And I said, if you can send that to my organ, what would they say to me? Me that I was trained in a local place in somewhere in Lagos. All right, so that just by the way. What I'm trying to emphasize is that engage a professional editor, and definitely your work will be better for it. Yes, next slide. Next slide. Yeah, thank you very much. I want to stop here and take feedback. Yeah, we have some feedback. David, over to you. I think you can help take the feedback and then read it out so that I can respond to them.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. This has been really comprehensive. Thank you, sir. So I'll quickly just go to the questions so that Samson Kelly asked, results presented in graph can sometimes be more readable in charts so that readers can have clearer understanding. What then do we do, sir? Then a follow-up question was that, does results presented in charts need a short sentence to explain briefly?
Okay, can I take them one after the other? Yeah, can I take them one after the other? You want me to wait until you are taking?
No, it is the same. Yes, you can respond to it. It is the same. I think it's like a rider to the previous one I read.
Okay.
So both of them are
like I said. Yeah, thank you. Like I said, there you determine which one will best present your what you are trying to say, because the idea is about communication. The idea is that, for example, permit me to use this. I hope I'm right. You want to communicate your research findings, and this person you are talking to understands English and your native language. If I speak in English, I express myself better than when I use my mother tongue. So I think I'd rather use the one that will best present what I have in mind. So if it is a graph, that will show what you have to present, particularly if it has to do with numerical issues, that can be better appreciated in graphs, let that be. With the charts, maybe that you feel can better convey what you want to use that. So, and for the other question, the follow-up question that you said, does result presented in chart need short? Sure. You must not explain now. You just want at this point, you are just talking to what you have presented. Figure so and so. That's how to reference it. And some people make the mistake of they have charts redundant in their resource section. Redundant, by redundancy I mean they are there but they are not referenced. So once you have a chart, it must be referenced. Once you have a table, it must be referenced. Whatever you have must be referenced. So therefore, once you have a chart, the short sentence is very necessary to describe what you have what you are presenting in the chart or the tables. I hope that I answered that question. Next question, please. Next
All right,
question,
sir.
Dimeji.
The next question is it a tradition to independently decide the contents of a research instrument? For example, working on a topic that entails the factors determining a subject wouldn't be biased to list few of the factors based wouldn't it be biased to list few of the factors based on the researcher orientation, as it can affect the quality of the result presentation? So then a rider question to it is, how do we present results for hypotheses and relationships research questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. Yeah, my response to that, quick response to that is that the issue of independently doesn't come because your research is nested in the literature. Before you think about what you want to do at all, I was telling some group of students yesterday that even your topic, before you talk about your topic, the title of your work, you must have familiarized yourself with literature. So in trying to familiarize yourself with literature, therefore, it's not unlikely that you will come across past work, related work, that you also can, you learn to what kind of questions they have asked. And anyway, your questions are not independent of your objectives. Like I said, the objectives, the research questions are the drivers of any research. They are the ones that determine whether you are going to Lagos or York. You cannot say, for example, you state in your title your study location being Lagos, and you go to Ekiti to go and conduct it. So your research objective, the research questions are the driver. So, and of course, the research questions are not couched independently, not just limited to your researcher orientation, but also extant literature, established scientific knowledge. And of course, when we talk about established scientific knowledge, we are talking about the literature. What is then literature? So the literature guides, determines, the level or the style or the quality of your result that you are presenting. I hope I answered that question. Dimeji?
Yes, sir. So, Oluwabusayo Idowu says, you said we shouldn't use both table and figures for the same thing in our results in the results section. In the case where you want to present a data that has total values and values based on age groups, can you use figure for the total value and use table for the values based on age groups, instead of using a single figure or table to present both total values and values based on age group at the same time?
I'm not sure I got that question, but if what I'm thinking of the question is this, that I said, once you have used a table, then you don't use something else. If you are going to, don't forget that in a team could have sub-teams. So for a particular sub-team, if you think that, a table will show, like you're just talking about the example you are giving now, a table will show better, so you can have total values, and that will be better presented in tables, then use that. Then for another sub-team, that same team, another team under that, another sub-team under that, can then, this particular information will be best presented in a different format other than a table. Then you present it. That's not the same thing as using, what we are saying is that once you are presented, finding in using a particular table or figure, you don't have to repeat using another platform, maybe a chart. Some people are fond of using, they say they have tables already showing us. They also want to use charts, but the same thing is there's no new thing, except there's a new thing that the previous chart or table is not given to us. And of course, you would describe it. It's not just, for example, the first one is figure 1. The second figure, you tell us what's the difference between the figure 1 and figure 2. But then, when there's no difference, there's no need for you to have them presented in 2 different formats. I hope that clarifies your question. Yes, next question.
All right, sir. So the next question is from Opeyemi Jo Olani, who says, sir, which data visualization tool would you recommend?
Data visualization tool. Oh, well, I don't know. I think it depends on the one that you are familiar with. But I don't want to recommend anyone now. but there are some of these that you can get for free. There are some that you need to pay to get. But I want to believe that I'm talking to people from diverse backgrounds, diverse academic background, fields of endeavor. So if I'm recommending, I might be out of point. So I would rather ask that you talk to your people, by people I mean your colleagues, supervisors, senior colleagues, to know which one is best suited for your particular discipline. Yeah, thank you.
All
Next
right.
question.
So the final question, sir, you said you will explain more on legend. Please, we need more explanation on it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was conscious of time. Legends just talks about notes. I think I did that. I showed that in one of the illustrations that I had. Notes, additional note that will help us to understand charts. In charts, time will not permit us to go into a number of examples. There are times that what you are presenting is just known to you, and maybe to a few of your colleagues who are in that field. But when you are presenting, particularly in interdisciplinary journals or outlets, then you want to explain to someone who is not an initiate in that particular field. So you want to say, for example, by this I mean just like in those days now when we're in secondary school geography, when you see a graph, and you draw a graph and you see some symbols, they can tell you, okay, this particular symbol in an asterisk, this particular symbol is pineapple, this particular symbol is crude oil, so that's what legends are. Simply, that's what they are. I hope that suffices. Thank you. The next, I think we have some other messages.
Yes,
you said finally.
Yes, some other questions came in after then.
I hope you tell them that we have just
a few minutes left. Yes, sir. So for a review paper, I'll just read these two, and that is it. So I'll read the two together so that you explain to them once. So for a review paper where you have referenced a lot of journals in your results, during the discussion, do you have to bring in a new journal that is not referenced to discuss your results? And then the next question by Samson Okeleye, if the previous research question is built upon the former and hence required the use of another format, e.g., if one has used a table for the first question and the second research questions require chart, what do we do? Those are the two questions. I will stop.
No, I think for the second question, I think I answered when I was trying to respond to the other question. That is not cast in stone, not set in stone that you must have everything in one chart or one table. I said, as long as you know that there are sub-themes, what I call sub-themes, or imagine information that is not captured with the first chart, as long as it's related to your research question. Like somebody will say, there are some research questions that carry children. One will carry one child, another one will carry two children, twins, triplets, and so on. So if you think that the chart you have is only talking about the first child and the second child is not being captured, of course you are free to use another format. But what we are saying is that it must be clear, it must be concise. That table 1 talks about this, table 2 talks about the course, and have them. Then that's why you have opportunity to have, for example, in your formatting 2.5, then under the 2.5.1, 2.5.2, so all these can then be explained, be described, making reference to the various charts that you have. So we know that all this is still under 2.5, but then it's because they have triplets and they have a number of other children. So for the other question, I hope I understand. It said where you have referenced a lot of journals in your results. In your results, you are not referencing. I think I said that your result is just reporting. Your result section is just reporting. You are not allowed to reference. The only thing you can reference in your results is your table that is emanating from your results, your own results. So is the result of your finding, not the result of another person's finding. So it's at the level of discussion that you now make references to, can now discuss. That's why they say discuss. We are bringing in other literature to discuss. So for your result, therefore, to conclude, what you are doing is reporting. You are reporting what you have gone to specific to do. Whatever is not in your objective, whatever is not in your data, as shown by the graph, by the tables, do not report. But you are free to discuss and bring in external materials when you are talking about discussion. I hope my responses suffice. I want to thank you once again for the opportunity to be here. Thank you so much. I want to appreciate the ED, my ED. Thank you, ma, for your tutelage. God bless you. God bless you, Timiji. God bless everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. This has been really comprehensive, and I'm sure everybody here agree with me that sessions have been great. I want to invite Professor Lanre Ikuteyijo, the Executive Director of the Central Office of Research, to say a few words so that we can close for today. Are you still here, man? Oh, okay. Well, while we wait for her, next week we'll be having a session on quantitative analysis, and it will be by Dr. Wale Mobolaji. He is an expert in the field, and I'm sure that it's going to be a session to remember for many of us who would want to be introduced to quantitative analysis. So I want to thank everyone for coming today. I want to thank you for making today a success. Please share the link with your friends, share the link with people who you think will benefit from this session. It is the same link every Friday, and it is 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. every Friday. So let's keep it a date. You can share it to the whole class. You can invite groups. You can invite people. We have enough space on the Zoom to take as many as 500 people. So don't be scared to share the link and all. And of course, we're still working on getting all the recordings out. We are almost done. So they've already been uploaded on the YouTube, but it has not been published for the public yet. We want to release all of them at once so that we get that behind us. So we are working on it, and then we are sure we're going to get it. So thank you very much. See you next week Friday. And thank you, Professor Ikuteyijo, for this very beautiful session. Thank you for taking time out to do this. We are really, really grateful. I don't know if Professor Lanre Ikuteyijo is still here, if she's back. You are muted, Ma, if you're speaking. But then, if not, I think we can close. Thank you, everyone, for coming. See you next week Friday. Bye-bye.